Court sessions can be emotional, riveting, crazy, and others are just weird. From twerking to having divine legal representation to only caring about his short hair and a mugshot to faking a heart attack and lastly, hitting on the judge. These 5 defendants clearly had a taste for weird. We're in the Miami-Dade courthouse where Judge Catherine Pooler is presiding over a bond hearing. Calvin Lloyd Griffith, the defendant, is accused of breaking into a nearby school and stealing staff member's vehicle. Griffith was arrested and is here on charges of grand theft, burglary, and trespassing. In addition, he broke his probation from the prior car theft.
Calvin Lloyd Griffin Jr. on page 12. Good morning. Mr. Griffin is charged with burglary, petty theft, grand theft of a vehicle, and trespass. And he's on probation.
He's out on probation, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm on probation. I'm on paper.
Okay.
I'll be in here anyway because I smoke weed and cocaine.
The court officials decide to turn Griffith's mic off to prevent him from talking over everyone.
Okay. You're Calvin Griffin?
Mr. Senator is the button pressed.
Oh, okay.
Griffith keeps attempting to catch the judge's attention as Judge Pooler goes over the documentation. But with Judge Pooler unable to hear him, Griffith decides to try a different approach. The judge moves on with the case, clearly not impressed with Griffith's twerking abilities.
He's requesting that Your Honor set the bond, but will you set the case in division tomorrow because his actions violate his probation?
She agrees with the state attorney and sets Griffith's bond at $18,500.
And there's a statewide order from Miami Edison Senior High. If you should get out, do not go back there. You're not a student anymore. Okay? Thank you for coming in.
As the judge moves on to the next, less interesting defendant, she looks back with fondness on her time with Calvin Griffith.
I want the last guy to come back and teach us how to dance.
We all love twerking defendants, but unfortunately, sometimes we all get our divine proclamations of judgment. We're in Douglas County, Georgia, and in this court, you have to be sinless to try accused people. The defendant is Sahara Fakhir, a 32-year-old. She faces charge of murder, burglary, and armed robbery. The victim was Jerry Wheeler, a 66-year-old local businessman who was killed in his home while preparing dinner. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office deputy who found the body was Wheeler's son. The victim was unknown to Fakhir, and the crime seemed to have no obvious reason. When Fakhir appears in court to hear charges, she appears unaware of the seriousness of the situation she is in.
You're charged with the murder of Jerry Franklin Wheeler. You understand that?
In the Masonic courthouse, I understand that. I understand that this courthouse is a cursed courthouse. Yes, I understand.
Okay.
And if you are judging me, you're not God-fearing, Allah will have his vengeance on you, and everyone else in here is not God-fearing. I understand that.
The judge accepts the claim without comment, but things get truly bizarre when the conversation turns to legal representation.
Do you have a lawyer?
Allah is my lawyer right now.
Are you
He's speaking for me.
Are you going to get a lawyer?
Allah is my lawyer right now. And if you do not release me, Allah will have his vengeance on you. Like he did in 2009 when he sent that flood. It's only going to get worse.
Unclear what flood the defendant is referring to, the judge continues.
Well, if you cannot employ a lawyer, then you can apply to the public defender's office for an appointment of one at no cost to
I mean
you.
what I said.
I'm just trying to inform you of your rights.
No, I better be released from that Masonic courthouse.
Unfazed by Fakhir's demands and divine proclamations, the judge tries to finish up.
Grand jury meet and it will determine whether or not to proceed with this case. Do you understand that?
If they disbelieve, they better not proceed.
Okay. Bond will not be granted today. If you want such a bond, you can make application and have a hearing as to that matter. Do you understand?
Why can't I get a bond today?
I'm not going to grant a bond today. This is just an
Why?
initial appearance.
Why?
Because it's going to have a hearing to have it.
Possibly out of frustration, Fakhir moves on from the court and starts insulting a local news station that is covering the hearing.
Fox 5, really? That Illuminati reptilian news channel. Really?
And they're a member of the public. They can come to the courthouse like
Remember,
anybody.
disbelieving public.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the end, Fakhir's case is tried and she's convicted of murder, armed robbery, and burglary. She is presently in a state prison receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Do you think that Sahara Fakhir got a deserved sentence? Let us know in the comments. In the King County Courtroom in Seattle, Christopher Teel is making an appearance before Superior Judge Karen Donahue, following an alleged incident in which he allegedly chased down a woman into the car dealership's bathroom, locked her in a stall, and sexually abused her. The 26-year-old is charged with rape and unlawful imprisonment. Just seconds before the attack, the victim had dropped her car off for maintenance. Teel, who stands 6'3" tall, was only pulled from the woman by dealership staff who broke in. Teel has exhibited unpredictable conduct while in detention thus far, and he's engaged in several violent episodes, such as attempting to headbutt a detective who was questioning him regarding the incident at the car dealership. According to the results of the mental assessment, Teel was able to comprehend that he was the subject of a criminal proceeding. During the analysis, psychologists found that he might be pretending to have mental illness symptoms. He is therefore appearing in court today for a competency hearing. Watch his behavior as he walks into the courtroom and appears to be in a stupor. Reed Birkeland, the lawyer assigned by the court, is standing beside him. The jail guard takes Teel's handcuffs off, and the defendant keeps looking about wildly. Teel reaches out to his defense counsel as the prosecution opens the hearing, but the court officer grabs his arm, moves it down, and orders him to remain still. What follows will astound you. Teel chuckles, then walks back to face Birkeland and gives him a hard slap. See how one court officer quickly catches Teel by the back of the head and lowers him to the ground while another holds his shoulders? Eventually, this officer is able to get back the handcuffs on the 250-pound man. Another officer calls to the back of the courtroom attendant to bring a restraint chair to put Teel into. The cops lead him out of the courthouse with a hood over his head. Birkeland decides not to file a complaint. However, he withdraws from the case. The craziness doesn't end there. Teel returns to the courthouse for another competency hearing 2 weeks later, but this time around, the officers are not taking any chances. Teel is brought in front of the judge while strapped into a chair for restraint. Teel stops the hearing before it ends, and he starts loudly complaining about how short his hair is in the mugshot.
One thing to say. I'd like to know where the they got that photo of me with my short hair. Because that was on Facebook, and I don't have a Facebook.
All right.
This is quite unbelievable. The attorney tries to get back on track, but Teel again shouts over him, asking nonsensical questions.
Legitimate questions. Like, do they have access to Google?
Ultimately, Teel is ruled to be competent to stand trial, and upon his conviction, he receives a sentence of 8.5 years to life in prison. So much drama for complaining about short hair and a mugshot. But what about faking a heart attack? That is the case of Keison Wilkins. In a courtroom in Ohio, Wilkins is defending himself against several accusations of assault and firearms crimes related to a 2004 shooting. Just like the dramatic first day of trial where the judge needed to clear the courtroom a number of times due to Wilkins' antics, day 2 is already off to a bad start. The judge asked Wilkins if he has any witnesses in court today as the hearing gets underway.
Wilkins, do you have any witnesses here present today?
To which Wilkins replies that he does not. When the judge hears him claim that he needs more time to prepare his defense, the judge reprimands him, reminding him that he has months to do so.
You've had months to research this matter. This is why I suggested to you that you have counsel.
The hearing goes forward as the judge is unwilling to extend Wilkins' deadline. The prosecution presents a police officer as a witness. When the questioning is over, Wilkins starts his cross-examination. You won't believe what follows. The judge, who is already aware of Wilkins' dramatic flair, appears unfazed when court officials rush to his help and calmly orders the courtroom to be vacated once more. After being helped back into his chair by the officers, who are skilled medics, and nurse examines him and concludes that there is nothing wrong with him. Look at Wilkins' hunched over position in the chair. He looks unconscious. The court requests that it be noted in the record that he seems to be acting like he's asleep and that everything seems normal. A deputy waves smelling salts at Wilkins' nose. And in a more bizarre move,
A remarkable change.
Wilkins stays seated in his chair with his head tilted back as the court proceeds with the hearings. The judge reprimands him for his persistently disruptive actions. Eventually, Wilkins, despite being in good health, is wheeled out of the court in his seat. His actions did not benefit him, as he is given a 42-year prison sentence. As you take in the shock of that, let's head to a much lighter moment. Most people find it hard to even talk to people that they like, but not Demetrius Lewis, whose being in custody doesn't stop him from hitting on a judge. Take a seat in this virtual bond hearing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with Judge Tabitha Blackman presiding.
Demetrius Lewis on page 26.
Peering remotely, the defendant is Demetrius Lewis. Lewis faces 5 years in prison if found guilty of the felonies of attempted burglary and possession of an illegal substance he's being charged with. Far from his legal woes, he has other things on his mind.
Judge, you're so gorgeous, Miss Judge. I just have to tell you, you're gorgeous.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Whoa, this man isn't playing around. With the entire Zoom watching, Lewis shoots his shot at the judge. Notice the reactions of the other parties, including prosecutor Eric Lindor.
Judge, you're so gorgeous, Miss Judge. I just have to tell you, you're gorgeous.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Perhaps Lewis's charm will help his cause.
All right, Mr. Lewis, flattery will get you everywhere, but maybe not here.
Or maybe not. Judge Blackman moves on with the case.
The court finds probable cause on count 1, burglary, occupied dwelling, unarmed. Count 2, possession of MDMA ecstasy.
She then proceeds to ask the state for its recommendation.
Recommending a $7,500 bond, no victim contact, no return. Noting the allegations, Your Honor, there were 3 children present in the home that Mr. Lewis was attempting to break into.
Lewis objects, and the judge considers the defense before making a determination. She puts his bond at $5,000, a substantial amount less than the prosecution's recommendation of $7,500. Now that could have been $2,500 compliment.
You're gorgeous.